Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's Change of Charters ceremonies, where we will formally recognize the change of leadership for Army Capability Managers Reconnaissance Attack and Army Capability Manager Lift. The host for today's ceremony is Major General Michael C. McCurry, Commanding General, United States Army Aviation Center of Excellence and Fort Novosel. Joining us today from the United States Army Aviation Center of Excellence are Major General and Mrs. Michael C. McCurry, Commanding General, Mr. Robert C. Doerr, Deputy to the Commanding General, Colonel and Mrs. Joshua R. Ruiz Sanchez, Director, Aviation Capability Development and Integration Directorate, Sergeant Major Jermaine Baldwin, Aviation Seated Sergeant Major, the Honorable William Cooper, Mayor of Enterprise, Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Mark A. Morgan, Command Sergeant Major for the Security Assistance Group Ukraine, Wiesbaden, Germany. Honorees for the ACM Reconnaissance Attack Change of Charter are Colonel Brian Woody, Outgoing Director, ACM Reconnaissance Attack. Colonel Ashley Lee, Incoming Director, ACM Reconnaissance Attack. We are also pleased to have joining us Mrs. Angie Woody, wife of Colonel Woody, and their children, Sydney and Alex, and Mrs. Jessie Lee, wife of Colonel Lee, and her brother, Dr. Patrick Lee. Joining online are Colonel Woody's father, Charles Haydu, mother, Diana Haydu, and sister, Megan Earhart. Honorees for the ACM Lift Change of Charter are Colonel David Morgan, Outgoing Director, ACM Lift. Colonel Jacob Whiteside, Incoming Director, ACM Lift. Also joining us is Mrs. Catherine Morgan, wife of Colonel Morgan, and their children, Ryan and James. And Mrs. Marcy Whiteside, wife of Colonel Whiteside, their son Gavin, his mother, Miss Darlene Warren, and cousin Allison. Please stand for the invocation delivered by Chaplain Colonel Kyle A. Taylor, and remain standing for the singing of the National Anthem by Miss Sophia Tucci.
All heads bowed, please. Let us pray. God of all power and providence, we thank you for your divine presence, and we ask your special favor be upon today's ceremony, which signifies the end of an era and the continuation of a mission for both the reconnaissance and attack and the lift communities. Colonel Woody and Colonel Morgan have been instrumental in simultaneously shoring up our present capacities while shaping the future of Army aviation. So with their capable hands, they have contributed greatly to the success of our enterprise. We thank you for their leadership, and we thank you for their families who have lent them to this critical mission. And as Colonel Lee and Colonel Whiteside now take these charters in hand, we know that they are already endowed with the requisite knowledge and experience and fortitude to continue shoring up the present and shaping the future of Army aviation. And we thank you in advance for their leadership, and we thank their families in advance for lending them to this critical mission. Now we pray the abundance of your grace, your peace, and your protection upon all who are present here today. May our help, our hope, and our every success be found in you alone. In your most magnificent name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Oh, my apologies. Miss Sophia Tucci, please stand.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Now, please be seated. My apologies again. We are honored to have the officers, non-commissioned officers, soldiers, civilians, and friends of Army, Aviation, and Aviation Seated joining us from the virtual environment. The incoming and outgoing ACMs will now present their loved ones with special tokens to recognize their significance to their soldier and their contribution to our Army mission. Colonel Woody will now present a bouquet of red roses to Mrs. Angie Woody. These roses symbolize a mature love and the lasting respect of the Army Capability Manager Reconnaissance Attack Office for Mrs. Woody's courage and commitment. An aviation token of appreciation and flowers are now being presented to Colonel Woody's children, Alex and Sydney. Colonel Lee will now present a bouquet of yellow roses symbolizing the beauty and youth of a budding relationship with the Army Capability Manager to her spouse, Mrs. Jessie Lee. These roses welcome Mrs. Lee into the Army Capability Manager Reconnaissance Attack family. A token of appreciation is now being presented to Colonel Lee's brother, Dr. Patrick Lee. Colonel Morgan will now present a bouquet of red roses to Mrs. Catherine Morgan. These red roses symbolize a mature love and the lasting respect of the Army Capability Manager Lift Office for Mrs. Morgan's courage and commitment. Tokens of appreciation are now being presented to Colonel Morgan's children, Ryan and James. Colonel Whiteside will now present a bouquet of yellow roses symbolizing the beauty and youth of a budding relationship with the Army Capability Manager Lift to Mrs. Marcy Whiteside. These roses welcome her into the Army Capability Manager Lift family. He is also presenting a bouquet of flowers to his mother for her years of unwavering support. Tokens of appreciation are now being presented to Colonel Whiteside's son, Gavin, and cousin, Allison. The Army Capability Manager serves as the operating force's representative for the integration and synchronization of doctrine, organization, training, materiel, leadership and education, personnel, facilities, and policy, or .mil-PFP solutions for new materiel development and organizational designs. In this role, the Army Capability Manager coordinates with all Army components in the operational force, the materiel developers, test and evaluation personnel, other ACMs, other capability developers, the Army and Joint Staffs, and Army commands. Unlike traditional commanders, the Army Capability Manager is empowered with a charter. This charter empowers the Army Capability Manager to fulfill the role as the combat developer and user's representative for all formations and systems assigned to them by the charter. This charter is what allows the Army Capability Manager to act as the user's representative and fight to ensure their systems surpass all expectations and provide our current and future warfighters with the best combat-capable equipment possible. The ACM Reconnaissance Attack Charter reads in part, ACMRA represents the Commanding General, Army Futures Command, and reports to the Director, Aviation Capability Development and Integration Directorate. The ACM serves as the Army's centralized manager and coordinator for capability development and user activities associated with the Army's attack and reconnaissance formations, platforms, associated munitions, and other material programs. ACMRA, by means of this charter, is hereby delegated the full line authority of the Director, FCC, for the implementation and management of approved requirements of assigned capabilities. Signed, David M. Hodney, Lieutenant General, Deputy Commanding General, Futures and Concepts. Similarly, the ACM LIFT Charter empowers the Army Capability Manager to fulfill the role as the combat developer and user's representative for all formations and systems assigned to them by the Charter. This charter is what allows the Army Capability Manager to act as the user's representative and fight to ensure their systems surpass all expectations and provide our current and future warfighters with the best combat-capable equipment possible. The ACM LIFT Charter reads in part, ACM LIFT represents the Commanding General, Army Futures Command, and reports to the Director, Aviation Capability Development and Integration Directorate. The ACM serves as the Army's centralized manager and coordinator for capability development and user activities associated with the Army Aviation's utility, cargo, and fixed-wing formations, aircraft platforms, and associated mission equipment, weapon systems, and other material-related programs. ACM LIFT, by means of this charter, is hereby delegated the full line authority of the Director, FCC, for the implementation and management of approved requirements of assigned capabilities. Signed, David M. Hodney, Lieutenant General, Deputy Commanding General, Futures and Concepts. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General McCurry, Commanding General, United States Army Aviation Center of Excellence in Fort Novosel.
Distinguished guests, Mayor Cooper, leaders, soldiers, ladies and gentlemen, friends of Army Aviation, welcome to the home of Army Aviation and our shrine here to all that went before us. We truly stand on the shoulders of giants. It is my distinct honor to be a part of this change of charter ceremony today between Colonel Brian Woody and Colonel Ashley Lee for Army Capability Manager Recon Attack and Colonel Dave Morgan and Jake Whiteside for ACM LIFT. You might notice that we are wearing different patches and ask yourself, why is the TRADOC COE commander officiating a Future Concepts Center change of charter ceremony? Well, first and foremost, Lieutenant General Dave Hodney asked me to do it. But it also makes a lot of sense. It demonstrates the inextricable link between FCC, the CDIDs, the ACMs, and the proponent. So once again, I'm honored to be here. Let me again acknowledge the family members of these officers. You know, we ask so much of our Army families, and we need to take a minute to recognize them and thank them for all they have done. So for Colonel Woody, Angie, Sydney, and Alex, thank you for what you've done. I think we have another ceremony here shortly, and that's probably why you're smiling so broadly today. But thanks for what you've done. And Ashley, with Jesse, we're glad you're here. And with the Morgan family, Catherine, Ryan, and James, and Marcy, with Bryce and Gavin from the Whiteside family. Also want to recognize Mom and Cousin Allison and Dr. Patrick Lee for joining us here today as well. I know that today's a big moment in time for these officers, but it's really the support over the years that we're thankful for. And how about another round of applause for that rendition of the national anthem? As you heard earlier during the reading of the charters, the ACAM serve as the operating forces representatives for the integration and synchronization of a lot of words that all of us in the military call .mil PFP, and I won't go into that to save the families the agony. But it's all about new equipment, organizational design, and making the Army better. These positions are important for the Army. Make no mistake, these are brigade command positions. These officers were selected on the same centralized selection board that picked our brigade commanders going out there with our cabs. They have 1 foot in current operations and challenges of the current operational force, and 1 foot in the future advanced capabilities. As the warfighter's representative, ACAMs are the centralized manager for all user activities, capability development, survivability, aircrew integration, tactical air services, aviation sustainment, and mission command and interoperability. In this role, Colonel Brian Woody has served as ACAM Recon Attack since 2022. He led a team of soldiers, civilians, and contractors that managed requirements and user feedback for a fleet of 782 attack aircraft by integrating efforts for the Army's reconnaissance and attack platforms, including all munitions and lethality improvements. He also played a pivotal role during several key modernization programs for the Army's enduring aviation assets, including H-64 Echo modernization. His contributions during his tenure as the ACAM RA set the conditions for Army Aviation's fielded attack fleet to be modernized and capable of successfully functioning in multiple domains on current and future battlefields. Angie Bryan's your biggest fan for all you do to support him and your family and the families of the soldiers, civilians, and contractors he leads. Sadie and I also thank you for your service to soldiers and families throughout your career. Brian is retiring from this assignment after 33 years of service, and I'd like to wish him, Angie, and the family the best in their next endeavor. It's my pleasure to welcome Colonel Ashley Lee as she assumes the duties of ACAM Recon Attack. Ashley is well qualified for the position. A leader of intellect and vision, she's held a wide range of command and staff positions. Platoon leader with 1st Battalion, 2nd Attack, 1st Battalion, 229th, Assistant Operations Officer, Company Commander in 4-2, trainer and SGS at the National Training Center, Secretary of the SJS at Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti, Battalion Ops Officer, Executive Officer at Fort Cavazos, Deputy Director and Evaluator of Aviation and Fires, and then the ATEC Commander's XO, and Battalion Commander of 3rd Battalion, 58th Aviation Regiment at Fort Liberty. She graduated from the National War College and most recently served as the Deputy and Division Chief for the Security Cooperation Coordination Division of the Joint Staff J5. Ashley, the talents you bring to this job are well suited for the fast-paced, evolving requirements of Army aviation modernization. It's because of these conditions that we refer to it as transforming in contact. Jesse, Sadie, and I also welcome you and your pastry skills to Fort Novosel, and especially the Silver Wings potlucks. We now say farewell to Colonel Dave Morgan from ACAM Lift. Dave's ensured the integration efforts of the future long-range assault aircraft into the Army, just recently achieving a milestone B. His efforts resulted in the selection of a transformational aircraft that will meet Army aviation needs to support the ground forces in multi-domain operations in 2030 and beyond. Over the last 2 years, Dave and his team have prepared the package to initiate an optimally manned capability into the Army Futures Command entry gate. This will give us Army aviation commanders greater flexibility on crew member utilization and capitalize on what humans do best and what machines do best as we integrate humans with machines. We will fold this into each aircraft requirement moving forward. Dave also guided the modernization of all the Army's lift platforms and ensured alignment of the lift portfolio's modernization priorities with the Army aviation's present and future mission needs. His ability to reach beyond the aviation community and enterprise and capture the capability requirements of the ground force ensured that Army aviation remained relevant and oriented on maintaining the sacred trust. Dave and his team also provided critical assistance to the intel community in bringing along Hades, the high-accuracy detection exploitation system, a fixed-wing platform that he brokered multiple working groups from Fort Novosel with INSCOM and other stakeholders to provide information and updates on this program. Dave, your legacy as ACM Lift will be your leadership during one of the Army's most transformative periods. You met the challenge as well and ensured we are better prepared for the future and successfully fighting in large-scale combat. Catherine, I want to thank you for all you've done in supporting Dave and the families of the soldiers, civilians, and contractors he's led. I know that Dave could not have done it without you, here or in previous assignments. I am pleased that Fort Novosel will not be losing the Morgans. Upon relinquishing ACM charter, Dave will remain assigned here at the center. Thanks for your leadership, hard work, and job well done. Just as with Ashley, when the Army takes away, the Army provides, this time in the form of an exceptional and transformative leader. Colonel Jake Whiteside is the new ACM Lift, and I congratulate you on this position, Jake. You're well qualified for the job. Command and staff assignments include Battalion Commander, 2-1 Aviation, 1st Cab, Deputy Commander, 1st Cab at 1st ID, Troop Commander, twice in 1st the 17th CAF, near and dear to my own heart, Charlie Troop and Headquarters, Executive Officer of the Army Aviation Brigade, Congressional Fellow for the Chairman of HAC-D. That's the part of the House of Representatives that appropriates money for all of you in the audience. Very important. A very easy assignment as the legislative aide to the 39th Chief of Staff of the Army and former Chairman, General Mark Milley. Instructor and Aviation Branch Rep at USMA, recruiting our best to become the future leaders of Army Aviation. Jake's a graduate of the Army War College and most recently served in the Nuclear Operations Division of the Joint Staff. Jake, I look forward to the contributions you will make to transforming Army aviation in the future and meeting its challenges as we continue to generate and develop aviation leaders of today while shaping the force of tomorrow. Sadie and I welcome Marcy along with Bryce and Gavin. Special shout out to Mom and Cousin Allison. And again, thank all of you for being here today and sharing in these important change of charters for these great organizations and these great American soldiers. This will defend, above the best, fly Army.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Brian Woody.
Wow, you guys are going to be listening to a lot of speeches, so you got a Snickers bar? You might want to pull it out now. General McCurry, thank you for those comments as well, too. Sergeant Major, our Colonel Ruiz Sanchez, family, friends, industry partners, thank you for being with us today. And I'd also like to give a shout out to folks online that are watching this, particularly my father-in-law, Bill Zeke Zambiazzi, and Sue Zambiazzi, listening to us from Arnold, Maryland. Hi, guys. So over the last 2 very quick years, I've had the distinct pleasure and honor of serving as the Director and Capability Manager for Recon and TAC. Admittedly, when I first learned I would assume this particular position, I had to Google the organization, do a little online research. Of course, that didn't help. The assignment differed significantly from what I had learned for, trained for, and studied for over the last 25 plus years in Army aviation. I was kicking myself for needing to pay more attention in Carlisle and at the War College when they taught acquisitions and JSEDs. Even the acronyms were a foreign language to me. Reflecting on my time in the Army, one profound lesson definitely stands out. An organization's effectiveness and success are not solely determined by its leadership. It is the unwavering commitment of the individuals who work tirelessly every single day, fulfilling their duties and demonstrating a profound dedication to the mission and the people they serve that genuinely drives its success. As my last assignment in the Army, 33 years, it's a long time, looked pretty good. Well, I'm only 37 years old. You guys know that. I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by the best and brightest of the Army aviation profession. Men and women who put the organization's needs above their own, independently pursued improvements that increase the survivability, viability, and efficacy of the platform we know and love, the A64 Apache. Not a single day went by when I was not profoundly impressed with their knowledge of the platform, their deep understanding of the processes. More often than not, I would walk out of meetings saying to myself, yep, I was definitely the dumbest one in that room. ACOMRA is organized into 3 distinct sections with specific and focused responsibilities: the attack team, Team Lethal, and our headquarters admin section led by Lieutenant Colonel Chris Lamar and Mr. Chris Webb. As the organization's only civilian deputy, Mr. Joe McVeigh helps ride herd over the remaining 2 teams, provides guidance and mentorship in all critical projects. Joe has been with the team since the days of the Comanche. That's a long time ago, Joe. And has served as my right hand over the last 2 years. His guidance and candid advice were invaluable to the team and me, and he was indispensable on the countless visits to industry, the PM, and across the pond. I often called him my whoopee, and will undoubtedly miss his counsel. As a reminder, Joe, 30mm procs wouldn't exist without you. Thank you, sir. We'll get there. In addition to Mr. McVeigh, Ms. Rita Kaur is the ACOMRA and Lift Administrative Specialist who managed to keep me out of the DTS jail and pointing me in the right direction. Rita's written responsibilities belie her committed efforts to keep ACOMRA organized, on track, and off the USACE naughty list. On rare occasions when I had problems with my official travel, Rita was always available to help me sort out the problem day or night, rain or shine. She's the ACOM's coordination specialist who expertly navigated the complex world of defense industry points of contact and put me in the right place at the right time. I will undoubtedly miss our morning huddles and reminiscing about how short that weekend was. Leading the attack team, or Team Beard, as we have affectionately called it, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Rigney coalesced an eclectic cohort of retired officers and warrant officers to serve as the pointy tip of the spear for Apache requirements. Over the last 2 years, Jeff has become a double-edged threat as an operational specialist and platform expert. He was dependable and often sought out for his frank opinions across the Apache capabilities and requirements enterprise. On several occasions, he would even let me borrow his maintenance experts, CW3 Joel Sanchez, Mr. Christian Kennerly, CW5 Kyle Cutler, and Sergeant First Class Zach Smith to help me become maintenance smart. Didn't always work, but they always certainly got an A for their efforts. Between him, Mr. Scotty Jackson, Mr. Aaron Marsh, who cut off his beard last weekend, so he's not part of the bearded team anymore, Mr. Larry Niver, and Mr. Adam White, I knew without a doubt that our modernization efforts were in the hands of the best and the brightest from the Apache community, instilling confidence in the future of our modern operations and organizations. The ACOMRA lethal team was recently led by CW5 Brent Welch, whose decades worth of expertise spanned 2 platforms, the OH-58 Delta Kiowa Warrior and the A-64 Apache. In addition to his responsibilities as one of my team chiefs, Brent also served as the Aviation CDID's chief warrant officer. Between Brent and I, we spent the last 2 years crisscrossing the country to visit our industry partners in the vain hope they would sell us a critical capability that wouldn't cost more than just a few bucks. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for someone to take us up on our proposal. In addition to Brent, Team Lethal is manned by a group of passionate individuals who patiently advocate for increasing the lethality of the A-64. Mr. Al Mays, or Obi-Wan Kenobi as I like to call him, and Mr. Mike May and Mr. Chris Renault tirelessly ring the lethality bell to increase the platform's capabilities. Over the last 2 years, these gentlemen have advanced the collective understanding of several innovative programs, including JAG-MMR, the Long-Range Precision Missile, Launched Effects, and the Next-Gen Hydra Rocket. Keep pushing, guys. The requirements and capabilities enterprise is a 3-legged stool, and I would be remiss if I didn't say and acknowledge and thank the efforts of our defense industry partners that are here with us today. I hope Operation Open Kimono was compelling, and I greatly appreciate your tireless efforts to advance the platform across multiple lines of effort. My final recognition and acknowledgement go to my daughter and son, Sydney and Alex, and my lovely wife of 25 years, Angie. I know this hasn't been easy on you, and I recognize the sacrifices each of you has made. We are at the end of the road with no more moves, no more schools, no more having to make new friends. I love you and hope the next chapter of our lives consists of nothing exciting beyond what we make it. Your sacrifices have not gone unnoticed, and I sincerely appreciate your unwavering support. Ashley, you're getting a team of pipe hitters. Good luck to you. Recon attack, be all you can be. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Army Capability Manager for Reconnaissance and Attack, Colonel Ashley Lee.
Distinguished and honored guests, I'm humbled and grateful for your presence and support today. My new teammates at ACM Recon and Attack have earned an impeccable reputation inside the Army Aviation enterprise. In the past month, I've seen firsthand their technical expertise, professionalism, and absolute dedication to the aviation warfighter. Their work continues to build the sacred trust that Army Aviation shares with the soldiers on the ground. Thank you for all that you do. Woody, thank you for your leadership of Recon Attack the past 2 years. As you've said many times before, neither of us will know if we've done a good job until 10 years from now. But if the work you put into our transition is an indication of the past 2 years, I have no doubt that in 10 years' time, the Apache warfighter and platform will be more lethal and more capable as a direct result of your leadership. Jesse and I wish you and the family the very best the future has to offer. To my brother Patrick, the phrase welcome home has a different ring to it because he was last year in 2001 for my flight school graduation. Thank you for being present for every single major Army milestone from ROTC commissioning to today. To Jessie, you are the best woman, doggy mama, baker, and partner in life that I could ask for. Thank you for being by my side these past 15 years. The strength of our nation is our Army. The strength of our Army is our soldiers. And the strength of our soldiers is our families. And for me, that is you. Recon Attack, forge the future above the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel David Morgan.
Distinguished and honored guests, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning. Colonel Luis Sanchez, Sergeant Major Baldwin, and all the folks that helped pull this together, again, thank you. And I'll go ahead and tell you up front, you're going to hear that a lot. In fact, 2 years ago, whenever I stood up on that stage, my message was one of thanks to all the people who would help me get there. My message today is about the same, just with more folks on that list, but don't worry, I won't mention them all individually. I do want to start by thanking the Acklam team. We had our farewell yesterday, but let me quickly say what a great group of professionals doing solid work for the branch. I'm very proud of them and the things that they've accomplished over the past 2 years. The work the cargo team did to support the Block 2 decision was real yeoman's work. No one in their right minds enjoys staff work, but we owe the rigor and data analysis to the senior leaders, and you guys delivered. Along similar lines, our utility team spent the better part of my tenure doing good old-fashioned JSID's work that will help inform aviation's path to autonomy. And our fixed-wing team, in addition to their work with Hades program, they also helped shape FLRAA's .mil PFP efforts to ensure the success of the branch's #1 priority. Thanks to you all. To include those who were part of Acklam Lift and have since moved on to bigger and better things, truly, you all have my gratitude. Jake, you'll inherit a great team, just like I did, thanks to those who came before me, and I know you'll take them to even greater heights. I'd also like to thank our partners out there, the folks here at home, everyone in aviation seated, like my fellow directors and your respective teams. You've been great teammates, and I'm honored to have served with you. And those up in the headquarters as well, like the bullpen, keep a desk open for me, guys. Also, the rest of our partners within the broader aviation enterprise, the folks at Demo AV, the DevCom crew, and those closer to home like DOTD and DES and the like, thank you all. I'd also like to take a quick minute to thank my partners from the Acquisition Corps and industry as well. Before I get accused of Stockholm Syndrome, we're all a team, and we all want what's best for our warfighters, and I truly appreciate your contributions to that effort. I told you up front that I'd be thanking a lot of folks, but I'm almost done. I want to close by thanking my family. My brother and sister-in-law, Mark and Janet, are here all the way from Germany. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. It's been a long time since we were privates back in 1st Battalion, huh, Mark? Not too shabby. And finally, I owe my greatest thanks to my wife and boys, Katie, Brian, James. Thank you all for your support and sacrifice over the years. You are and will always be my inspiration. Again, thank you all for coming. Towards the future, above the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Army Capability Manager for LIFT, Colonel Jacob Whiteside.
Distinguished and honored guests, it's a privilege to be here with you today and to continue serving our nation in this capacity, managing capabilities and requirements to ensure that our fighting men and women never enter a fair fight as they achieve overmatch. And Dave, to you and your team at ACM Lift, two things have impressed me in my short time here. First, none of you speak English, and I look forward to learning whatever it is that the language that you've employed in the office thus far. Second, it is abundantly clear that you take that charge of overmatch for America's treasure quite seriously. I'm thankful for the welcoming that you've provided, the information you've provided. I already feel as though the folks in ACM Lift have written Andy on the bottom of my boot, and that makes me feel part of the team. So thank you for that. I too look across this room and I see so many familiar faces, all of whom have been instrumental in getting me here, both through college, through life, professionally or otherwise. And so I owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. That does not go unnoticed, but I certainly will not begin to name names here because I don't want to forget a name. To my family, I want to really end there with regard to acknowledgments. My uncle, my cousin, my son Bryce, who has his priorities straight. He couldn't be here today. He's at the beach with his girlfriend. Gavin, thanks. You don't have a social life, so I'm glad you're here with me. My wonderful mother, she and I go way back, and so I'm grateful that she could be here as well. And my wife, Marcy. She was here with us graduating in 2003. She was here, our honeymoon was me taking a PT test here, and so God bless you. Thank you so much for continuing this journey with me. And I'm going to end with this. I read a book daily, or close to it, and it reminds me that we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, and I see that here today with all these folks. And having said that, we're reminded that with that cloud of witnesses, we are to run the race with endurance that's been set before us. And so I commit to each and every one of you today as the witnesses that I pick up this charter and this charge, and I take it seriously, and I'm committed to running it with endurance. Thank you very much. Forge the future above the best.
Please stand for the playing of Above the Best and the Army Song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the ceremony. As a reminder, there will be a ceremony honoring the retirement of Colonel Brian Woody at 10:30 hours at the World War I display directly behind you in the museum. We thank you for your participation. Please come forward and join us in welcoming Colonel Lee and Colonel Whiteside and join them for cake and refreshments behind the UH-1 display following the reception line.